Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to AM Language. This is our 4 o'clock show today. I hope you're all well and that you had a good weekend and you had a good Easter as well. I'm just going to share this session online, and then we can begin. In this lesson, we are going to look at opinions. In particular, how to give your opinion in English. I should say that this is for all levels. So in the live chat, please let me know what your level is so I can give you examples that are going to be helpful for your level. But like I said, this is for all levels. So let's begin. LVS.com says, hello, Richard. How are you? Hello, LVS.com. I am well, thank you. How are you today? Did you enjoy your lesson this morning? It was the first time we tried Zoom lessons. As a teacher, I thought 14 minutes was it was not long, so it's difficult to try and really get into certain things. So 40 lessons is going to be a little bit difficult, I think. I've had a really good think, and I spoke to the other teachers about trying to see how we can really make good use of the time of 40 minutes. Irina, hello. You're intermediate. Excellent. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed your Easter weekend and your lesson this morning. Nadia, hi, Richard. I'm up intermediate. Excellent. Thank you very much for joining, Nadia. Hope you had a nice weekend, and I hope you enjoyed your lessons this morning. That reminds me, I still need to do one or two things regarding that. Let's begin, because this session is about 45 minutes. LVS.com, pretty good. Yes, I started my lesson with Lorraine. I'm in pre-intermediate level. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, LVS.com. I'm glad you enjoyed your lesson with Lorraine. So let's begin. We're going to look at how to give our opinions in English. Andres says, hi, Richard, I'm intermediate. Excellent. Okay, so we've got a good number of intermediate students. We have some pre-intermediate and we have some intermediate. Hario says, hello, good afternoon. I'm in pre-intermediate level. Okay, so you're a pre-intermediate level. Hario, okay, very good. So we have quite a mix, which is good. So we'll try and always, if you like, feel free to give me a topic that you want to discuss and you find a bit difficult to discuss. And we can always center our phrases that we can use to discuss ideas for you to give your opinion in English around that topic. Don't worry about if you think it's a controversial topic. I am more than happy to try and give you examples that you feel you need to know how to use because of the type of topics you like to discuss. Victoria Gomez says, hi, Katya and we are in intermediate level. Okay, so the two of you are watching. Lovely, fantastic. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining the program. Thank you for joining our live YouTube lesson today. Maria says, hello, Maria. I remember you from this morning. Thank you for joining me this morning, Maria. Like I was saying at the start, 40 minutes is not long. It is definitely difficult to try and make that 40 minutes a really good 40 minutes. With my lot, I've ended up telling them, giving them the recording, helping them out with the listening and the reading for their, directing them to do that for their homework, so we can concentrate more on speaking. In my classes, and the other classes, we do want to concentrate on speaking because that's one of the things which is really difficult at the moment. Natalia says, hi, Richard. Hi, Natalia. I hope you are well, and thank you for joining. Okay, don't forget to like and share the video as well. So let's begin. So we've got different levels. We have pre-intermediate, intermediate, and upper intermediate. So what are the important things that we need to know? Elena, good afternoon, Richard. Good afternoon, Elena. Thank you for joining. So let's start off with the way we can go about giving opinions first. Okay, so you've got your obvious phrase to start off giving your opinion, such as "in my opinion." Okay, I mean this is what we would describe as the basic one that you can use. In my opinion, I think. In her opinion, she thinks. In your opinion, in Dave's opinion, in Sarah's opinion, and this is why we can use it. It's your entry level really into giving opinions. Yiseth says hello. Hello, Yiseth. Thank you for joining. Now, alternatives to this can be, you could go with "in my view," for example. So this is the same meaning as "in my opinion." In my opinion, in my view, it's the same phrase that we can use to give our opinions. You can also use "from my perspective." You've got "from my perspective" and "from my point of view." I think, for example, or I would say. Okay, so we've got different ways for telling someone what our opinion is. We've got "in my view," in my opinion, "in my view," "from my perspective." Now, perspective is an opinion. So don't forget that. A perspective is an opinion. In this case, it's my perspective or your perspective. You also have "from my point of view." So 1, 2, 3, 4. These are 4 need to know phrases when giving your opinion. But what really matters is what comes next. So, for instance, if we go with "from my point of view" plus, now you could go with "I think," "I would say," or you've got your third option. Now, your third option is really good, especially if you're intermediate or up intermediate. But if you are pre-intermediate and you use this, well done. It seems to now this is why it seems to me that okay. Now it sounds like and it looks like. Now, what am I getting at here? After you go in with your phrase of "from my point of view," or "in my opinion," or "in my view," you need to follow up with, again, it's like taking someone's hand and you're leading them to your opinion. This is why we have these options. From my opinion, from my point of view, I think that X, Y, Z. Now, if you go with "I think," this is basic. It's you need to know. You need to know that you can use this. Next level up, you've got "I would say." Now, don't get worried about what we mean by "would." In this context, this is a phrase, and it still has the same meaning as "I think." So, if I'm going to give an example at the moment, okay, let's say I'm going to give my opinion on whether, okay, I'm going to go for a stupid example, but I know it's going to be it's an example that's not a bad example at the same time. Okay, Jorge says good afternoon. Good afternoon, Jorge. Thank you for joining. So, for example, we can say, from my point of view, we could go with, from my point of view, Italian food is better than French food. Okay, so that's where we're just using the phrase. So that's one. Option two, from my point of view, I think Italian food is better than French food. Better than French food. Okay, so here we're going with the phrase and then I think. Then you have the next option. For, let's say, from my perspective, I would say Italian food is better than French food. Okay, again, we're using this phrase, from my perspective, I would say. Okay, so here you're giving your opinion, but you're giving your opinion in a polite way. Now, the next one, now we're saying something that is very polite, it's diplomatic, and if you can use it, then great. So, for instance, you might say, in my view, it seems to me that Italian food is cheaper than French food, for example. Now, when you use this term, it seems to me, it can mean we can replace it with, well, sorry, it replaces phrases like it sounds like or it looks like, for example. From here, this is what we're talking about, is what we can see and hear. What we can see and hear, which is why it seems to me is a really good phrase to know how to use. For example, we could say that from my perspective, it seems to me that that Italian food is cheaper than French food. Now, the important thing here is when you use this language, you are not telling people this is a fact. You are simply telling people this is what you think. Now, again, what about it sounds like, for example? Well, sounds like is specifically when we're talking about what we can hear. So let's say you're giving your opinion about what you have heard in the news. You would say, in my view, it sounds like Donald Trump XYZ, for example, or in my view, it sounds like the earthquake was really, really bad. Now, what do we mean by it looks like, for example? Well, this is when we use it looks like, this is when we're talking about an observation, for example. So, for instance, at the moment, we are all meant to be in lockdown, quarantine. But we do know some people are still going out and they are still socializing. So, this is where we can say, in my opinion, it looks like some people are not following the rules. Now, again, when you say it looks like, you're not saying it's a fact. You're saying this is what it looks like to you. Now, for example, we can also do this with food, for example, in terms of quality of food. So you could say, for instance, that in my view, if you eat food that is not in season, I would say it's not as tasty, for example. So that is how we can use this language. We have our introductory phrases into what we think, and we follow it up with extra phrases that are polite, and it tells people what we think. The important thing is we are not saying we are not telling people what we think is a fact. We are telling people what we think, what our point of view is. Okay. Now, before I get you guys to interact with me, how do we make phrases and questions in phrases to end up in a conversation with people where they get to give their opinions? Can we use these phrases in our question forms? The answer is yes. So let's say we're having a conversation again about, let's say we're talking about something to do with, I don't know, how expensive something is. You can use this in a question, such as, from your point of view, uh, from your point of view, do you think Malta is more expensive than, let's say, Colombia, for example? So to start your question, you can go in with one of these phrases, such as, from your point of view, do you think Malta is more expensive than Colombia? In your opinion, uh, do you think um, do you think Rome is nicer than Paris? Now you can go with do, for example. Now, what other words can we use here? Well, we can use would as well, such as, let's say we go with, from your perspective, would you say, from your perspective, would you say Valletta is cleaner than Venice, for example? So from your perspective, would you say? From your perspective, would you say? And we are using the same construction, in the sense that we've got your introductory phrase, your opinion phrase, and then you're going in with a question, either with would you say, and it's important to say this, would you say, or do you think, for example. Now, this is some language we can use in order to have a conversation. So I'm now going to turn over to you guys. Victor Gomez says, it seems to me that Malta is far expensive than Colombia. Victor, that is nearly a perfect sentence. Just don't forget more. It's far more expensive. If you use far, you need more. So it's either Malta is expensive, it's either Malta is more expensive or Malta is far more expensive. Whatever happens, this is a comparative, so we need more. So I'm now going to ask you guys a question, and I will see what your answers are. Please look at my examples above, and then afterwards, it's going to be your turn to try and ask me a question as well. So let's start off. Ooh, Maria has come in. I never been in Rome, but in my opinion, Paris is a romantic place for celebrate birthday or another thing. Okay, Maria, good sentence. I know what you're trying to say here. Um, I would give you about 70%. So I give you 70% because I understand what you are saying. There's one or two mistakes though. Okay, first of all, never. I have never been, because this is an experience. You need to use the present perfect. So I've never been to Rome, but in my opinion, okay, well done. I'm very happy that you used that phrase, opinion. So well done there, Maria. But in my opinion, Paris is a romantic, a romantic place for. Now here, if you use for you, instead of to celebrate, it's for celebrating. Okay, um, celebrating uh, birthdays, or instead of other things, maybe things like that. Okay, So have a look at this sentence, Maria, and if you like, you can ask me some questions about it. But I liked what you were going for, Maria, so well done. Yeseth, from my point of view, I would say Paris is more expensive than Madrid. Well, Yeseth, I think that's an excellent sentence and well done, and I would agree with you. I think Paris is more expensive than Madrid. I might be wrong, but I think a McDonald's in Paris is something like 12 euros. And that's a lot of money for McDonald's. So I'm now going to ask you guys a question and let me know what you think in the answer. Okay, so I'm going to go with, from your perspective, um, is it better to shop, to buy food from supermarkets or local, or your small local food shop uh, that only has local food? Okay, so from your perspective, is it better to buy food from supermarkets or um, or from your small local food shop that only has local food? Elena has come in with an opinion. From my perspective, this time is the best time to start something new. Elena, I agree. I think that's a very good sentence, and I agree with your opinion as well. So here we go, guys. This is the question that I have for you. Let me know what you think. This is a conversation that I was having with a good friend of mine in the UK about food. And one question that always comes up is it better to buy food from supermarkets, or is it better to go to your small local food shop that only has local food? So it only has food from your area, really. Let me know what you think. Now, it does depend which country you come from. Malta is obviously very small, so it's a little bit difficult. But if you come from a bigger country like Colombia or Italy, for example, then this might be a question you have thought about. Elena has says, it depends, but from my perspective, nowadays, I prefer to buy food from supermarkets. Okay, Elena, I think that's a very good sentence. I like the way you went in there with it depends, but from my perspective, nowadays, I prefer to buy food from supermarket. Just don't forget the S, supermarkets. Okay? Good, well done. I think that's a very good answer. Let's see what other people say. And then, if you like, feel free to try and ask me a question as well. Um, I uh, I would invite, if you guys like, those of you who are pre-intermediate, have a go. Don't be afraid. It's better to have a go than not to make a go, because if you make a go at trying to make a sentence, I can then help you. Yusef says, from my perspective, it's better buy in small local food shop to help the sellers. Okay, Yusef, I like what you are trying to say there, and I understand what you are saying as well. Just a few things we need to look at, just from a grammatical point of view, which is, from my perspective, it's okay when you need the apostrophe s when it is. It's better to buy or buying. You need to decide. It's either better buying from, or it's better to buy from small local food shops. To help the sellers. I see what you mean by sellers. Here, though, I would say maybe local farmers. Okay. So that's how I would complete your sentence. I would say, from my perspective, it's better buying from small local food shops to help local farmers, for example. Andres, let's see. In my view, I would say nice introduction, nice lead in there. I like that. In my view, I would say that we should support small local food shops, and their products can be more healthy than on supermarkets. Okay, I really like what you're going for there. Andres, just one thing. They can be, I would say, okay, more healthy. Typically, speaking, because health has one syllable, we would say healthier uh, than products can be healthier from from supermarkets, I would say. Okay. Then we have Arena. In my view, it's more convenient to go to a large supermarket and buy everything at once. Irina, I think that's a very good point of view. So well done, Irina. I think that's a good point of view. From the argument that it is more convenient. It's true, it is more convenient. Jorge, in my point of view, if you're going to go with careful not to mix the two, okay? It's either in my view or from my point of view. So don't confuse the two. It's better to buy food in supermarkets for the large gastronomics offers. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Okay, it's better to buy food from supermarkets because of the what we call maybe massive discounts, maybe massive discounts, for example. Maria, oh, she wrote something, but not anymore. Let's see what she writes later. Hario, from my point of view, it depends on what do you from my point of view, it depends on what you want. So if you use depends on what do you, let's say for instance, it depends on what you do. So do would come at the end of your question, or it depends on what you want. So look at how we've done it here. Usually, if your question would begin with like what do you want, or depends on what you want, the do and the want has to come at the end of your sentence when you're using it as a question. So what when you use it depends, when you use it depends, do and want come at the end of your sentence. So it depends on what you want, it depends on what you do. Okay. It depends on what you want. If you want to buy local things, you have to buy in local farmers. Okay, good stuff here, guys. Just remember, you buy from someone or something. So you buy from supermarkets. You buy from your local farm. You buy from supermarkets, you buy from your local farm, okay? So when you're buying, when you're talking about the place that you're going to buy something from, the preposition is from, okay? Buy from. Maria, thank you for your comment. Let's see what you have written. From my point of view, okay, well done there. Just, you don't need my twice, okay? You don't need my twice, you just need it once. From my point of view, what are you looking? Because sometime I can't find in the supermarket and I bought in both. Okay, again, Maria, I think that's a really good sentence. I think there's a lot of things there that I understand as well. There's one or two slight mistakes, but overall, well done. Give yourself a pat on the back. I think you had a really good go at it, and I like your sentence. To make it better, what you can say is, from my point of view, we can probably go with it depends, actually. It depends on what you are looking for. So then we would then looking for, because sometimes I can't find, I can't find Um, can't find what I am looking for in supermarkets, for example. So let me explain this sentence. From my point of view, it depends, okay, on what you are looking for, because sometimes I can't find what I am looking for in supermarkets. Because you use the term because, it sounds like you're going to give an example of when you might find it difficult to find what you are looking for. Okay, so well done, guys. I think you've done really, really well here. Now, it's your turn to ask me a question. So this time, let's see what you guys come up with. Can you guys try and ask me a question? If you look back through the live chat, you will see my examples of how to create a question. So I'm going to give you now the chance, the opportunity to try and write a question for me, and let's see what you come up with. And I will give you my answer. So everyone have a go. Let's see what questions you can think of. You don't need to stick to food. If you want, you can change the topic. But I often think food is I often think food is a good example to go with, but if you like, you can change your the subject of your question. You could ask me about cars. You can ask me about English music. If you like, you can always ask me about what music you might want to listen to. That is good to learn English, or maybe you just want to try and listen to some good music. So Isis has asked, from your perspective, would you say virtual education is better than presential education? Okay, I see what you're going for. I would say what we would probably say is physical classrooms. I would say physical classrooms instead of that. But to answer your question, from my perspective, um, there are a lot of good things and very useful things about um, online education, virtual classrooms. There are a lot of very good things, but you can't you can't completely replace the benefits of a physical classroom. I would still say the best thing ultimately is still the physical classroom, because of the physical experience of being in a place, being physically in the presence of other students, the teacher. It's it's more enjoyable as a teacher to be in a classroom. Um, so online education, I would say, is a good second choice, but it wouldn't be my first choice personally. I've always thought if I want to learn a language, because I do, like Spanish, I would want to go to the actual place. I would want to go to a country to learn to learn that language. But that's a really good question. So well done, Yusef. Andres has asked, Richard, in your opinion, would you say that we are going to be on lockdown for more than 2 months? To be honest, yeah. I would say from my perspective, it seems like we are going to be on lockdown for more than 2 months. And I think some people are going to find that difficult. Depends on how big your place is. It depends if you're living with other people. Um, I think it's going to be challenging for some people, definitely. Elena has asked, from your perspective, do you prefer working from home or coming back to the real classes? I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest. That's a really good question. Ultimately, I still like getting up in the morning and going to work. I like, again, it's the sociable side of things. I like to physically be in the presence of and of the atmosphere of a school, for example, with fellow teachers, members of staff, and students as well. It's all about that interactive vibe. And again, I don't think an online classroom can ever replace the feeling of being in an actual classroom in a different country with different people. For me, it's always better to be physically there rather than just online, so to speak. Um, so it's a good question. Victor Gomez asks, from your point of view, is it better spring or summer in Malta? Ooh, that depends on your perspective of heat. If you like the temperature to be warm but not too hot, then I would say spring. So we are now entering a really lovely period in Malta. April and May is usually a very nice time of year. It's hot during the, well, it's very warm during the day. It's still a bit cool at night. It's warm enough to go to the beach. It's you can swim, but it's going to be cold. Summer summer is just really hot. It's really, really hot in Malta. So if you have time to go to the beach, go swimming, then it's great. But if you are indoors all day, then it can be difficult. I'm not going to lie, it can be difficult. But that's a good question, Victor. So thank you for your question, Victor. From your point of view, is it better? Is what you're missing here, though, is weather. Is the weather better in spring or summer? Yeseth asks, in your opinion, do you think Malta is nicer than England? Oh, Yeseth, that's a very good question, and it depends on what I'm thinking about. To be honest, if I'm thinking in terms of the sun, then obviously Malta. But for many things, I would still say England. So, for instance, one of my favorite, from my perspective, one of my favorite things about England is the countryside. I love the countryside in England. I love country pubs. I love going for walks surrounded by woods, surrounded by a wood or in a wood for that matter. If you and the further north you go, for instance, Scotland is a beautiful place. So, from a countryside perspective, definitely the UK. From the weather side of things, probably Malta. Food is a bit difficult. When it comes to fruit, the quality of fruit in Malta, fruit and vegetables, Malta's better. When it comes to quality of meat in general, I think the UK is just a little bit better. Um, it depends. There are lots of good. Look, Malta has a lot of good points. The thing with Malta for me is it is small, and I do miss. I really love mountains. My ideal place is somewhere in the mountains, really. So that's a good question. It got me thinking. Um, Jorge, in your opinion, might we reach advanced level of English in 6 months taking virtual classes? It depends on your starting point, Jorge. Um, I mean, if you're an upper intermediate student, then it certainly is possible. Intermediate, that might be a little bit difficult, but that's a good question. So I can't really give you a definite answer. Um, what I would say though is if you are at the moment an upper intermediate student, then yes, you stand a good chance in 6 months of getting to advance. Maria, from your perspective, teaching English, how long time is recommended to have a good English level? Okay, so from your perspective, teaching English, how long? Here we would probably change this. How long do you recommend? Recommend. You'd have to use recommend after this bit. How long do you recommend learning English for so you can have a good level? Okay. So I'm going to write, that's my answer for you, Maria, in a way that I think addresses your question. This is a difficult question to answer, if I'm being totally honest, because it depends on your starting point. So, for instance, and it depends what we mean by good. So, for instance, if you are a beginner and in 6 months you go from beginner to pre-intermediate, that's really good. If you're elementary and in 6 months you get to intermediate, that's really good. If you are pre-intermediate and you get to up intermediate, that's really good. I would always say in 6 months, if you can try and progress um, three, maybe you can go through 1, 2, 3. So if you can experience English at 3 different levels in 6 months, that's usually very good. What I would say though is the higher you go, the harder it is. So for instance, if you are up intermediate, then in 6 months, if you can get to advanced, that would be good. If you're intermediate and in 6 months you get to advanced, that's really, really good, for example. So it does depend on your starting position. Irina, in your opinion, do you think listen to music on vinyl better tracks MP3? Okay, just to address, do you think listening? Okay, so do you think listening to on music on vine, vinyl is better than on MP3 and than tracks on MP3? Okay, so that's your question, Arena. In my opinion, to be honest, and this is a good phrase, to be honest, I don't know. Is the answer to your question. I don't know, to be honest. Okay, and when we use to be honest, it means we are being honest with our opinion, and we usually use it. We can use it if we do have an opinion, but we can often use it if we don't have an opinion on something. So then we have Hario. From your point of view, what will be the most important problem in Malta after the COVID-19 situation? That's an excellent question. From my point of view, it seems to me the biggest problem will be seeing businesses open and seeing the unemployment level go down and the employment level go up. I think we are going to see an economic. I feel that. Well, I would say, yeah, I would say it's going to take at least 12 months for small businesses or larger businesses to return to normality. I think some people are going to find it very difficult. Elena, from your point of view, do the world will turn better after the virus? Okay, good question, Elena. Just one slight thing. From your point of view, this is going to be a future question. So from your point of view, will the world become better? Will the world become better after the virus has passed? That's what we could say. Okay, once the virus is over. So that's a really good question, Elena. From my point of view, I would say I hope so, but I don't know. I think in the UK things are looking bad. I know in the US things are looking really bad. I think one of the things that needs to happen is I think there does need to be a world international investigation into how the virus came about and the mistakes that were made. So if the World Health Organization has the power to investigate and then put a stop to certain things that helped the spread of the virus, then that will be good. I think there definitely is going to be an opportunity to learn from this, and hopefully we in the future will be better prepared for an outbreak. So I hope so. I hope a lot of good will come from it. I hope the world will be better, but that is hope. Youssef, you've asked another question. From your point of view, do you think Europe economy will be recovered this year? Okay, I see what you're doing for here. Very close. You're trying to go with a passive. Do you think the European economy will recover within the year? Okay, that's what you really want to say. If you're going to, this is going to have to be an active sentence at the moment, because your subject is going to be European economy. We would have to rephrase this question to be a passive, just to show you. Do you think? No, I can't think of the passive. I think this is too difficult to turn into a passive at this moment. So do you think the European economy will recover within the year? No, I don't think it. Unfortunately, it seems to me it's not going to recover. I know that Spain and Italy are have a disagreement with the likes of Holland and Germany over the financial side of things. So I don't think I don't expect the European economy to recover within the year. I think it might take. I think it might even take more than a year. I think it might take 2 to 3 years for Europe's economy to recover. Because it's difficult to say. I mean, we don't know how long people won't be able to travel for. We don't know about the hotel industry. We don't know about all the small businesses. It's uncertain what's going to happen. Well, guys, thank you very much for the lesson today. You guys have been brilliant. I loved your questions and I loved your answers to my questions as well. I think you've all done a really good job, so thank you very much. What I would ask is always for your feedback, especially this week with Zoom lessons. So please let us know what you think of the Zoom lessons. So we can see how we can develop this during this period. Myself, Lorraine, and Simi are putting a lot of effort into trying to make sure that the 40 minutes that we have is 40 minutes well spent. So I will see some of you tomorrow in my Zoom lessons, and I will see the rest of you in the afternoon at 4 o'clock for another lesson as well. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Please like and share the video. And see if you can have a go at giving your opinions. Maybe try and write something. Try and give your opinion in English on a topic. Try use it on maybe one of your social media pages, for example, or record yourself speaking as well. So in the meantime, I wish all of you the very best. I hope you have a lovely evening. I hope you're all well. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. So thank you very much. I should also say this. If you want me to do a video on a specific topic or language point, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to do so. There are 1 or 2 YouTube videos that I'm working on in the background. So in the future, I hope to be able to post 5-minute, short 5-minute videos to help your education. using English. So yes, thank you very much, and thank you to everyone who's participated today in the live chat section, and thank you to all of you who have joined in, who have watched, even if you didn't comment. And thank you for liking the video. Please make sure to, if you haven't, like and share the video, and maybe share it with some people. Bye for now. See you tomorrow.